Hello, and thank you for your patience. The weather has not been conducive to getting some videos done. So I'm going to talk through this and I'm going to do three different, I'll just call them chapters for learning back tracings. And as I think I mentioned to a couple members that were interested, I'm also going to tell you the reason why I want you to do back tracings. And I think it's really important. So bear with me. Now, here's something that maybe some of you busy horse people could appreciate is you can listen to this while you're in the barn. If you're like me and you're doing chores and you just want to listen to something educational or whatever, entertainment on your earbuds and your Bluetooth, plug this in because I'm going to walk through it, and the portion of it about palpation might be something you want to just listen to while you're doing it. There are slides in this video as well that are for reference. They're nothing outstanding. You can look at them once and then refer to them if needed, but most of it is pretty much just for the purpose of audio and because YouTube is just easy to stick stuff on. So that said, okay, the importance of back tracings is what I want to get across. And then tomorrow or within the next 2 days for sure, I promise, we're going to deep dive into taking tracings. And I'll have some videos and pictures and really good presentation on that. And we're just going to focus on doing the actual tracings. And then I'll follow up with another, we'll call it chapter 3 for just like the different things you can do once you have tracings, including the shape ratio system and some other cool stuff, just to really monitor. And you can put some actual numbers and score your horse's body condition in several different ways. So you guys might think that's kind of cool. But to start with for today, like I said, what I want to do is talk about why we take tracings. I think I just want to help you be beyond eyeballing it, because it's just a lot of people aren't comfortable with doing tracings and you got to get there. And I think what I'm going to tell you today is going to help. So, I mean, a back tracing is more than just a measurement for a new saddle. Like I said, it's a 1-to-1 scale of your horse's shape, a 2D visual representation, but it's a lot more. It's a vital record for their development. I actually trace my own horse a lot, and you will see her in the pictures in this video. And I do it, and I might even take pictures of like 10 or so years worth of tracings just to kind of show you that I do it and what I do, because I'm a saddle fitter and I can just take a saddle out to my horse. As a matter of fact, I have several of them that fit her, and they fit her at different times of the year. And they're saddles that I don't want to let go. So even though they fit her maybe 3 months out of the year, man, they fit her good from like February to May. And then I switched to a different saddle later. Now, not everybody can do that, but it's important to understand that as a saddle fitter, I don't just put the saddle on and be like, yeah, this one fits okay, but maybe I'll go to the other one now, or maybe I'll flock this one up a little, or wow, because we've been working on her thoracic sling and really her withers really popped up. That was one year we had a whole other saddle. And I had to narrow the tree. And so I mean, I'm just saying it doesn't get easier because you're a saddle fitter. I'm still doing all this homework, and I do the tracings, and I take the I don't know if you want to call them confirmation shots, development progress photos, and I try. Some people are really cool about always taking them in the same place, so you can really kind of even judge by like landmarks in the distance, and there are lines. There's a lot of things. I should have Catherine Lowry help us with doing the shape. She's really awesome with that. She's a friend, and I think she's in this group. But I was going to reach out to her, but I'm not there yet. I kind of went down a rabbit hole with this, so bear with me just a little bit longer. Okay, so I don't have an indoor. The fluctuating weather in Wisconsin and my horse's activity level. I mean, her shape really fluctuates. So that's why I want to help you guys with this, because a lot of the saddle fit inquiries I get, whether on site or remote, are just because changes happened and things are wrong. And a lot of times their saddle wasn't really great to start with. The shape of the tree wasn't really right. But sometimes you're just really close. But if you like monitor it and like mitigate it with shimming and stuff like that, go watch that video, you can really stay on top of this stuff. And then your horse won't get sore. Because if they get sore and they have pressure points, it's just going to compound it, especially if you've got a little atrophy going on. So we're gonna dive in here. Okay, we actually have to understand that a horse's winter shape is a thing. Okay, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but you need to, this is the time of year, that's why I'm mentioning it again. But you have to identify the changes as they happen so your horse doesn't end up getting sore. So don't just count on eyeballing it. It's your hands are the best saddle fitting tool. So their palpation is powerful, so we're going to get into that a little. So, to truly understand your horse's dynamic shape, you have to get your hands on them regularly. Feel the structures of the back with your hands and go from just, kind of eyeballing it to getting comfortable with their back and their anatomy. Okay, we're going to go through those landmarks. So, if you can get comfortable with a palpation protocol, you're going to pick up on things that your photos and tracings will miss. It gets your hands familiar with what normal feels like for your horse, and then you can spot trouble early. I suggest that you do this following protocol daily until it feels really natural, but then do it at least weekly, at least. I'd like to say always do it daily, but all you do is start with your nice clean horse, like right before you're going to throw the saddle on, and they're tacked up, they're calm, they're standing there, they're clean, and they're getting ready for something. But start by just running the flats of your fingers and slide it over their back. And what you're going to do is you're going to start like, after the scapula, like below the withers, few inches off the spine. We're going to get to the supraspinous ligament detection, but stay like 3-4 inches off the spine so that you're sure you're on muscle. Okay, and you're going to slide your hands along the back until you get to like where the last rib was being. We'll talk about that too. But you're just going to see if, first of all, just see if you can detect any heat or swelling. Now this takes practice. I got great big like man hands with blisters, and sometimes I feel like I can't feel any heat or swelling, but you can once you get to know it. Once you practice, okay? You have to start somewhere. So then I want you to use a little bit more purposeful touch. And with your fingertips, apply this, palpation, but the first stroke is going to be just kind of just like right above the horse. Okay. I mean, right on it, but lightly. Then I want you to do a little bit more steady pressure and use more of your fingertips and go along the longissimus muscle, which I've identified a little bit in the slides. Hey, any questions, please just ask me. But the longissimus muscle is the first big muscle you feel after you've come off the spine, gone over the supraspinous ligament, and now you're on the longissimus muscle. That's the long muscle that supports the saddle with the help of the rib cage. Okay, anyway, sorry, I go on. So start behind the shoulder blade and move towards the loin again and feel that muscle. And you can kind of go up and down it, like I kind of identify where the saddle area is. That's the same area where you're going to want to palpate. Okay. So what you're looking for here is you're looking for like a flinch or anything like that. If your horse kind of dips a little, or even if they like do that little twiggle with their muscles or something like that, just kind of just take note if if it keeps happening in the same spot, like if any of you do the Masterson method, kind of the same thing. Do you see a blink? Okay. But this is, we're palpating a little deeper so that we're sure that we feel something that might be in our saddle support area that we want to be concerned with. If they drop their back away from your hand, then take note of that. Um, as you get more familiar with this, you'll start to notice like if one side feels tighter or like more ropey than the other. Now, there's reasons for this, but make note of it. So your hands-on connection is your baseline. And if your horse is reacting to your touch, they're telling you that something's already started to shift and it's probably affecting your saddle fit. Okay, so a healthy muscle called hypertrophy, it feels firm, elastic, and resilient to your pressure. If it's fat, and if you've got one of those, muffin top backs, you might feel soft and spongy, and you can kind of wiggle it. It's easily displaced. It's like you can move it around like a bowl of jello or something. If you've got atrophy or muscle loss, um, it's probably lost its tonicity or turgidity, they call it, because a muscle should be like kind of hard, not hard, but um, it might feel softer or just like not there. You just don't feel it. It's kind of hard to explain, but you'll get there. Okay. And if there's pain, you might feel like a knot, and then you're going to have the quiver or the spasm. And this should be under a light touch. You don't want to be digging for this. You just want to be feeling the muscle. Okay. So if they do this, then it's a defensive move and they're trying to protect themselves because they have some pain there. Um, okay, so we're going along your saddle where your saddle panels would lie. Next, because this is important to know these landmarks, I want you to feel for the supraspinous ligament. And we're going to get into this when we're like trying to figure out how wide should our channel be in our saddle, and do I know that it's not sitting on my horse's supraspinous ligament. Those really old saddles with the super narrow channels, they do. Okay, so you can use your hands to do this. You can use your fingertips. Put your fingertips, like, hook it over the spine. Okay, hook them over the spine, slide over the spine, and then just like use both hands, like your little pads of your fingers, and slide outward. Now, you can look at several pictures I've got of where the horse's saddle fit area is. So it's before that. So it's going to be, you're going to feel a supraspinous ligament like 1 to 2 inches off the spine. Okay. So it takes a while to feel it, but you're gonna, if you just go real slow, and then you're gonna feel like this band, and it goes like the easiest part to find it is like in the middle of the back, and then it just kind of disappears different places, goes deeper. But it's just when you feel it and you come over it, then afterwards things are going to get softer. It's going to feel different, and then you're going to be in the latissimus dorsi muscle. Okay, so practice that. Okay, the goal is just to identify it. All right, it doesn't take long. The first couple times you're like, I can't find it, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh duh, there it is, because you've been doing mapping the back and stuff. So next you want to find the scapula, and that's pretty easy for you guys to do. I've got some slides that I marked up my horse's scapula, and I always go up and around the top of it, because I'm just in the habit of doing that when I go out on calls and I map backs for saddle fitting, because you don't want to just mark the back of the scapula. That's for certain reasons and to get your length of back measurement and so you know where it is. But if you're trying to look at the horse like we are today, we're talking about why tracings help, but we want to get into all this. So if you take your chalk and you mark the back edge of the scapula and then follow it up to the top, and it gets easier to feel, but then you'll be like it'll feel like you're up on the shoulder. Okay, but just kind of start at the bottom and do the back edge of the scapula and then come up and over. because we're going to get to why, but you're going to want to know if your horse is even, basically. So I think you guys can kind of figure that out. There's going to be a handout that goes with this video too that walks you through it. It's the same thing. Okay, so you just feel for the back edge of it, and then when we go to do our tracings, we're going to want to do that landmark for your first tracing is going to be behind, like 2 or 3 inches behind the back edge of the scapula. But we want to know where the scapula is, and we want to monitor it while we're monitoring our back shape. Okay. Checking for asymmetry. So this is best done if you do the marking I just told you about, and then you like stand on a stool behind your horse and look at it from behind and see, do you see a great big difference between the shoulders? A lot of horses have a bigger left shoulder. It'll be higher, and sometimes it won't be higher, but it'll be set back. That's when you get your saddle tipped to the right, because that left shoulder is shoving your saddle over and making it crooked. And if the right shoulder isn't catching it because it's smaller, that's why you get that twist and tip. So you want to know, does your horse have this? Okay. Because if you're dealing with asymmetries and you're palpating and you're doing tracings, to be honest with you, the first tracing, the wither tracing, does not always show this. And this is why you need to mark up your horse, because I'm calling it part of doing tracings. Okay. Locating the last rib is, look at the pictures. Basically run your hands along your horse's back, or you can start at the flank and run your hands forward until you feel a rib, the first rib you feel if you're coming from the back, and follow it up. Okay. Follow it up with your fingertips. And I actually put a diagram in here just to kind of show you. Now, these are not probably anatomically correct diagrams. I make stuff off of my notebook LM, is where I dump all my data and my research and my books and everything I share. I dump it in Notebook LM, and then I can pull stuff out of there. So that's what they made for me. But but the curve of the last rib is what I want you to see. So because it curves up and towards the horse's head, you want to be aware of that. So don't just find it and draw a line straight up and go, oh, there's where my horse's last rib is, and that's where the saddle has to end. No, you actually have to follow the curve as it curves towards the horse's head, because there's like an inch or two difference. Some are different, but follow it up, and that where it ends at the top of the rib cage is where your last rib mark should be for your saddle fitting. Okay. But what we're doing now is we're palpating. So we want to make sure you can find it. Once you do, you'll also see like the hairlines from the front to the back, like where it comes up in front of the hip, and from the back, there's the hairlines, like they come together and they curve down. If you find that curve, if your horse's is really obvious, that's where your last rib is. So that's another kind of cool thing that makes it easy to see visually. That's why I can do a lot of remote fittings. If I'm not sure if somebody found the last rib and marked it correctly, if I get a good enough picture, I can tell where it is. So, okay. So, spend a minute or so over the next, try to do it every day for a week, and it'll build a little bond with your horse. They'll notice that you're like paying attention, and if you can recognize some pain before it becomes an injury, you're that much further ahead. And then you're also gonna get these landmarks down and know exactly where your saddle belongs. Did it slide forward while you were riding? Are you placing it in the right spot off the get-go? Okay. All right. So that's all I'm going to talk about for palpation today. But in line with why tracings are important is because our horses change so much. Okay. The hind gut distension that they experience in the winter is real. I mean, horses consume a lot of fiber in the winter to stay warm. We all usually feed extra hay, and it ferments in the hind gut and especially the cecum, and it causes the lower abdomen to expand. So when your horse looks like, oh my God, they got so fat over winter because their belly drops and they almost look pregnant, But I mean, it's a phenomenon. It happens. Now, it happens in different degrees, but it happens. I mean, while the stomach is expanding, then, like I said, it kind of looks dropped. The top line muscles, especially the ones that actually support the saddle and you, might actually be shrinking down because this distension does pull the skin and the fascia tight over the ribs. It can make your horse look fleshy or full and fat, but this is another reason to palpate. And one of the biggest clues, if this has affected your saddle fit, is that large belly thing, that distension, it actually pushes your girth groove forward. So like your girth groove changes its width and location a bit if the belly is not where it used to be and tucked up. And actually, if you have a wide girth you've been using and it all of a sudden it like does not fit well, and it just I also, I'm telling you, I have different girths. I have at least 3 different girths for the different times of the year. And it's just because I noticed it. It's like I just kind of like did it for a while and then I started really thinking about it. And then because I love to teach, I started thinking about telling people, why do I do this? Why do I have so many, different sets of things that I use at different times of the year? And I never really gave it enough thought to be teaching it. So I'm doing that now. Okay. So what this will do, of course, is because your girth groove is smaller, when you tighten your girth, it's going to pull the saddle onto the shoulders. Okay, so that's something a lot of you experience anyways, just because of the shape of your horse, but it's going to get worse like at this time of year right now, or hopefully most of you are like riding already. But like I said, I was going to try to do another video, but it's still unpleasant and raining and windy as all get out. So that's not happening yet. But so an atrophied back does not offer support for your saddle tree. And doing these tracings is going to give you a visual of this. And I have this in the next section, but I always like to mention it because, like, when your horse is regaining its shape or its back top line, it starts diminishing in the front and slowly towards the back. And then as you condition your horse and get them fit again and bring your top line into good shape, address your thoracic sling, the development and your tracings, which are going to show this, happens from the back to the front. So basically, the wither area is the first to go and the last to fill in. And a lot of you probably can understand that. But okay, so regarding thermal regulation, active horses still change. Now, I've been talking about like the winter thing and when horses are off work, this happens. But this winter contraction it's a biological shift. It's driven by thermal regulation. So if you have an indoor arena and you've been in consistent work throughout the year, your horse's body is still doing this. And the metabolism prioritizes internal heat production over building or maintaining muscle. That's just the way it is. So they're going to lose some muscle up there. So I don't know, my first few saddle fittings already this year, they're like, nope, this horse has been getting worked all through the winter. I'm like, really? So they needed help. They needed a lot of mitigation. But so like because the horse's body it borrows from the top line to keep the internal organs warm. So if you're riding 5 days a week but the quality of the muscle and top line is decreasing, this is why. So just give yourself a break and get a good shin pad or something. um, so red flags when we analyze our tracing, we're going to look for like the big back muscles. We need to watch the spinalis muscle, which is the closest to the spine, And because if we let that get away from us and our saddle is pinching or the tree is too narrow there, our horse is going to brace their back. They're going to go into that inverted posture. And those muscles are going to get hard because they've been overworked trying to, you know, brace themselves. A tracing can show this, and also it'll show like an abnormal ridge or a little bulge next to the backbone. So when you do your tracing, it'll like go over the withers and it'll have a little dip, and then it'll come out and straighten out on the angle is what you're going to see. And I can share some of those if you guys just got to ask questions. Okay. So that's a clear sign that your horse has a defensive way of going. Okay. Um, we use tracings to track symmetry. A lot of horses have a stiff and a hollow side. Kind of sort of goes hand in hand with that big shoulder, or, you know, but they all do. And if we don't monitor this, it can get worse because, like, if we chose the wrong saddle and kept riding it in anyways, because they seem to be okay, and then all of a sudden they're like a lot worse. If you haven't been doing tracings, how do you really know? Because there's a lot of teachers out there teaching how to identify the stiff and the hollow side. So feel free to ask me if you want any links or anything. But it it's really good to know. I work with Deb Davies. She's just fabulous. And ugh, it's like all her work is like straightness training. But I say straightness training is so important. And a lot of people think they need to go Google straight, you know, they have to find a course on straightness training. And yes, there's a lot of wonderful ones out there, but it's kind of like a state of mind. So anyway, you have to monitor this stuff, because otherwise, if you're a serious rider, and us, that's why I formed this group for primarily English saddle riders, because a lot of us are, whether we're competing or not, if we're addicted to dressage, it doesn't matter. Like me, I just love my clinics and my, you know, seminars and all the things that I do, and I don't even care if I ever show, but man, do I like to get it right and get my horse developed and do things correctly. So you have to monitor your horse's top line if you're going to be serious about your ridden work. Okay. A small asymmetry can cause the saddle to sit off to the center. To compensate, the horse is going to use their body unevenly, and that's going to lead to more one-sided muscle loss, making the saddle fit even worse. If you can catch this drift early through regular tracings, you can break that cycle and keep your horse balanced and comfortable. So I mean, think of your collection of tracings like a growth chart if you have kids, or, you know, I mean, you're documenting the progress of your horse's fitness. And it can be the success of your rehab that you're looking at, the reality of how they're getting older, you know, that you just got to kind of face up to it if the tracings just don't, you know, come plump back up the way they used to. Um, so, I mean, with these tracings, you can have a shape you can look at and a history that you can trust. So I hope this was helpful, and stay tuned. We're gonna dive into taking the tracings. I just really wanted you to know why. So I'm gonna get into that next, and then I'm gonna follow up with the other cool things you can do if you are rehabbing or developing or have a young horse and you want to track some things. I'm also diving into collaboration with a gal that's got a really cool tool. So I got lots of cool stuff I'm going to share with you guys. Thanks for listening. All right.